In the past 20 years, actually the global protein consumption has increased for around 45%. And we're actually also expecting it will continue to increase by around 25% in the next 10 years. So we're actually looking at an enormous room for us to grow in this sector. We have already seen new technologies that are helping provide solutions to the system. For example, optimizing the feed to the livestock so that we can increase the yield of proteins in the livestock and in the traditional cultivation. And also there are other ways they are looking into alternative sources of protein. And also things like plant-based proteins and insect proteins and lab-grown meat as well. So I think that it's probably still too early to say which technology will dominate, because this will be affected by a few factors. But I think that in the future, I think that we are actually expecting a world whereby all these innovations have their role to play in the global food system, and they can complement with each other as well. If we look at the current composition of the protein sources, actually the plant-based protein contribute to around 60% of our diet, and this is the dominating one. And this is followed by meat protein, which contributes to around 20% of our diet, and they are followed by eggs and dairy and fishery and aquaculture. And finally, on the alternative source, which are also non-traditional source of proteins, that contributes to around 6%. So there are a few driving factors that are actually that we expect will shift the composition of the protein sources in the future. And by these, we need to consider factors including the consumers' awareness of health and environment, and also the government's regulations and policy direction, and also the direction of technology advancement and consumers' acceptance, and also the global environment constraint as well. So if we think about all these factors, we can make a few assumptions. So if we are assuming that in the future, our consumers will become more environmentally conscious and also health conscious, in this context, we feel that probably plant-based protein will have more popularity. And on the other hand, if we are expecting a future whereby we'll be faced with enormous environmental constraints, such as we are running out of the land for use for growing vegetables and meat products, and also at the same time, if our technology could also catch up to provide better yield and also lowering the cost, and also provided that the consumers are accepting these kind of new technologies, we can certainly expect that alternative sources of proteins will gain more popularity.